My hero's ending was perfect. Before I begin, I would appreciate if you guys would like, subscribe for more anime, manga, and in general fictional content every 2 days. And with that, I hope you all enjoy. Endings are an important factor to any series and can determine if it's great or terrible. There are so many terrible endings that leave a negative effect to these shows. A huge example is Game of Thrones, a series that is heavily hated now because of the way it ended. While it was beloved, it got ruined by the ending. Some other series with bad endings are Bleach because they couldn't find a probable way to defeat Yuha. The explanation for Yuha's defeat ruined the whole ending, and while I don't really hate the series, I like it honestly. It still just questions me why did this have to happen? Why couldn't the author come up with anything better? Now, of course, we know the answer to that is because Kubo was sick and he couldn't come up with an answer that quickly, but it still negates the effects of the Bleach ending in the manga. Of course, I hope Thousand Year Blood War fixes that problem, but we'll wait and see. JJK, a series in which was ruined by the terrible ending. The characters don't develop, it just the whole point of what was going on in JJK was just ruined because of the ending that I had. Now I can go deeper in that, but that might be for a later upload. Tokyo Revengers. This one hit me because genuinely I did like the arc prior. I thought the Tenjaku arc was absolutely beautiful, but you can't say it was good because of what they did prior. The ending ruined Mikey's character and killed off beloved characters throughout the show. All these shows are not liked as much as they should be because of their endings. They're all viewed in a negative connotation. Great endings add to the story and make the series amazing. Dragon Ball Z and GT have phenomenal endings to the story and close Goku's character perfectly. Food Wars is another series in which ended perfectly, accomplishing Soma and Erina's relationship. Not only that, but it pushed Soma to be something his father could never become, who was a cooking legend, and closed up his story perfectly. Hell's Paradise is a new gen who ended perfectly, because it ended Gabimaru's character perfectly and made sure that everything was wrapped up for the characters and made everyone satisfied who read it. All these add to the series because the endings were so great. Most new gens have had issues with its ending, since there's countless issues with them. I know Oshinoko has been hated recently. I know JJK's has been scrutinized as well. My Hero Academia is not one of them. My Hero concluded the stories of all these characters and made it feel satisfactory. Before we got the additional pages, people were hating on it because they believed that everything that the stories were working towards was for nothing. Unfortunately for them, we got clarity there, but Horikoshi added more to it and made it even better than it was before. That comes with the question, what is a great ending? Well, what was Deku's whole purpose as a character? He was someone who proved that heroes can be just, and that the world wasn't as bad as it was shown to be. Not only is this because of the final war, he proved that he became the greatest hero. Many fans are very disappointed that Deku was never ranked number 1. That was never the purpose of his character. He's the greatest because he got rid of the greatest villain, while saving him at the same time. There was no way Shigaraki can be fixed at the moment because he was taken control by All For One. The only way to save him was to kill him because it got rid of All For One inside of him. Deku defeated the villain that All Might couldn't have, and got rid of most of the villains because of that battle, proving that he became the greatest. As a sports perspective, it's when a quarterback wins a game, but his stats don't really look that amazing. But the other quarterback that lost the game, he had like 450 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, 1 interception, and he lost the game. People are going to look at, hey, look at this guy's stats, this guy's way better, instead of looking at the wins, instead of looking at the whole purpose. Deku became the greatest because he got rid of villainy. At least the really bad one. Of course, evil is going to continue in this world, but people were able to trust heroes again after what happened in the beginning of the first war. So rankings for him don't really matter because the purpose of his character happened anyways. He wanted to be All Might, but he surpassed All Might in every metric. Now, a deeper value of this fan base is romance. Romantic interests are one thing that the My Hero Academia fandom completely adores, but it plagues them. Horikoshi made the answer to what will happen to the main protagonist Izuku Midoriya in Chapter 2. We immediately see Deku fall for Ochako Uraraka, and that should have been how it is. Unfortunately, the fandom didn't see this as such. While I don't really hate people shipping two characters together, my main problem is when you take that to an extreme and send death threats to Horikoshi, or you threaten other people because they might disagree with you on an opinion. Once you get to the level, you become weird. This was the problem that plagued this fandom, and that has never recovered. You see, a big criticism from a specific side of the fanbase. This has to be one of the dumbest takes that the fandom has. Why? Well, look at it deeply. At the writing, Deku symbolizes All Might, while Bakugo symbolizes Endeavor. In All Might and Endeavor's rivalry, it was one-sided, and it was with extreme hate. Bakugo has always hated Deku and bullied him over small things when they were younger. This never really changed until after the war arc, once he realized that Deku truly is a hero. There's no romantic interest between the two. It's more of a Goku and Vegeta type of relationship than any romantic one. Which is why Deku ended up with Ochako. It climaxed both their characters. Now, while Deku is described, why is there a problem with Ochako? Well, there isn't any, but that side has a very big problem with it. You see, in her fight with Toga, she had to let go of her hesitation over her feelings and open them up. Some of them view this as her throwing away her emotions towards Deku entirely, but that never happened. It really never was the purpose of that whole fight. She was supposed to open up to Deku, and how she mustn't hesitate. The only problem with this scene is that it took 8 years to tell him. Either way, that's not a big problem because she told him in the end. We know this is true because in the scene of the two explaining their emotions, Toga pushed Ochako while Bakugo pushed Deku. This completely adds to their character and made it perfect. Even though Toga should not be in heaven, I don't understand why she's in heaven, but she's in heaven. It's a little dumb, but anyways. With this scene, it not only closes the rivalry of Deku and Bakugo, which ended at the war arc, but it also completed Toga's purpose in the story, since she got the two people she loves most to be together. Also, I mean, who would be zesty if they're Shigaraki, the man who was broken by All for One and manipulated so he can take over his powers and take over his life. Which is why his life was taken by Deku and saved this character. He was rid of All for One. It completely ended the story of Shigaraki and it made it satisfactory as well. One thing I like to add onto this discussion is the cover art for Volume 1 and this last volume. Of course, the main thing we know is that Deku takes over All Might's pose from Volume 1, which we assumed would happen in the first place, especially because of the symbolism between All Might and Deku. But I wanted to pay attention more towards something deeper, and that's the red in the first volume compared to the normal faces in the last volume. Why does this matter? Well, we know throughout the war arc, the main basis as to why it happened was because the villains believed that the heroes weren't anything good. We know this because some people get stereotyped by their quirk. That's why Spinner became a villain and why Shinso was ridiculed because he wanted to be a hero, but his abilities is to mind control others. The fact that the heroes are all plastered by their normal complexion, it tells us that the people truly see them as heroes again. Another problem some people saw was that Deku ended up being a teacher. This was something he was going to do anyways, whether he had one for all or not. He was going to help the next generation of heroes, just like All Might. This is why he became a teacher, to help the next generation. Those who believe that he got the short end of the stick, it was just cleared up by these additional pages that he was going to do it anyways. He is doing all he can without his quirk, since the fumes of it were done by this point. I remember when the first few pages came out and how some people believed that his friends completely forgot about him, left him. I'm glad that it was wrapped up and that never happened, as they came in touch. Of course, this was implied in the early pages, but most people just killed Deku for it because they didn't really understand what it meant. You see, adults, we have busy lives. I promise you, we have busy lives, which is why they couldn't all meet together, since they were busy being heroes and earning money to give Deku his new suit. I promise you, if they weren't that busy, they'd hang out together more. Now, I want to go back to a point I made earlier. Deku never became the #1 hero, but he became the greatest hero in the series. You see, the characters view him as the same light as they did All Might, especially after he became the greatest hero. Some people might have a problem with how he was ranked, because he wasn't at all. The main problem is that he never went out and did hero work, which is why he wasn't ranked. Now, one character who I didn't really like ranked at #1 is Lemillion. I understand the symbolism of him getting there, but I genuinely believe because Bakugo and Deku's character was wrapped up, it should have been Bakugo, in my opinion. Of course, that never happened, and Bakugo isn't even ranked top 10, so I couldn't even argue. Anyways, Deku was never #1 because he didn't have a quirk, and just recently got a suit and became a hero 8 years later. He had an 8-year break, which is why he was never ranked. The side characters also had lovable moments throughout the ending. It showed how they all worked together and none of them were really forgotten, which is a surprise because multiple endings forget about these characters. A series that's really great with this is Dragon Ball GT, since we see Goku visiting everyone that he's met around with. The final chapter made us satisfied with the ending, and while we wish we continued to see more of these characters, we knew that their characters were wrapped up perfectly. From Todoroki's getting along after what Endeavor did to their family, to Deku and Ochako being together and Deku becoming the greatest hero and accomplishing all that he wanted to do when he was younger, it just added to it all. Well, there was discourse to the ending at first, because I remember when they argued between JJK's ending and My Hero's ending. Truly, JJK's is only bad, while My Hero's was great. I can't pretend that My Hero isn't one of the greatest new gens because of everything that it did. While I can go over many subjects in different videos, for this topic, I think that's all I needed to say. This is why My Hero's ending was perfect. I will add that the reason I didn't go in depth with the Todoroki family is because I wanted to make that a separate video in the future. And if you guys don't see that I talked about them in this video, this is why, because I want to make a separate video about them. A lot of people don't like their characters. I genuinely love Endeavor. He's one of the best written characters in New Gen history. I just wanted y'all to understand what was going on with all that. Anyways, see y'all next time.